Yo, what's good? Today on the podcast, we had my good friend John Sawchak. He is a world traveler spending most of his time between Asia and the States, living in Shanghai on and off for the past 7 years. Please give it up for John Sawchak.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
3, 2, 1. Okay, we're live. So, John, you're an old friend. The story of how we met is actually kind of interesting because we actually never really met in person. Remember how we first met?
I don't. Remind me.
You interviewed me. That's the first I ever talked to you. Do you remember that?
Was that when I came back to the States during the summer, or was that on the phone?
That was on a Skype interview. I was living on Orchard Terrace, and you were in Shanghai. It was to work at Iconics.
Okay. So this is circa 2014.
Yeah, 2014, December.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat Dodge had introduced me to Iconics, and I was graduating college, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then he put me in touch with you. So you don't remember that interview at all?
I do. I don't remember if we had met in person first.
No.
But, it's pretty much the same thing I went through a year before you when I graduated. I said, what am I going to do?
Who interviewed? I guess you just didn't know what you wanted to do.
Correct. But Pat had introduced me to Iconics when he was finishing his internship. I hit him up and I said, hey, I'm about to graduate in a month. So who's taking your job? And he said, no one.
Yeah.
So that's how I got the job. I had one phone. It was July 4th, 2013. I remember I got the call and said I got the job on July 4th. So I partied super hard, packed my bags a week
Were you
later.
living in Burlington at that point? Or?
Yeah, I was living on Maple Street. And I remember I was sitting on my balcony overlooking Lake Champlain, and I got the phone call from the owner, and he said, yeah.
Joe, right?
Yeah. So I packed my bags a week later, drove down to New Jersey, and then I went to New York City, got my visa within a week or two, and then I was on a plane within a month of getting the call. So I was out here August, right when Pat had finished his.
Oh, right.
his
You stayed
internship.
at that tiny little spot.
Dude, it was such a shithole.
Yeah.
I got off the plane. Pat was like an hour or something late to pick me up
Yeah.
at the airport, and I was freaking out because I didn't have a phone and I didn't speak any Chinese yet. So I showed up at the airport and I was like twiddling my thumbs. I was like, fuck, did he forget? Or like, what am I going to do? So I started like trying to dig through my email. However, Gmail, you couldn't open Gmail. I didn't have the address. I didn't have a phone number. But anyway, he picked me up at the airport. And I remember we got into a taxi, and for some reason we got out of the taxi like halfway through and then hopped on the subway. It was super weird. It was just like such a China moment. But then we stayed together in the same bed in some crummy hostel. It was like super moldy, no windows. And,
Oh, yeah, moldy. You
oh
told me
man,
about
it was
that.
so rugged. It's like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, is it?
So did you have that feeling of like, wow, did I really just move to China on a whim?
Yeah, of course. And that feeling never dissipated even until like 4, 5, 6 months in, because moving to a new city.
Not only a new city, a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly. Because once he left, I was pretty much all on my own. So it took me like solid 6 months to really get like acclimated. But then once you get used to it, you hit the ground running, and
Yeah,
that's all you can do. Sink or swim here.
yeah. It reminds me of you picked me up from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I had my surfboard bag. You probably thought I was crazy.
No, not really, because Shanghai is still an amazing travel hub to get to the rest of Asia.
That was my like thought process going into Shanghai was, all right, I love surfing, but I mean, we got Indonesia, Dead South, and some other stuff around there.
Have you made it to Taiwan yet?
Yeah, I went with Fulden.
Did you go to Kaohsiung?
Kaohsiung. No, we went to started off in Taipei and then went south to Hualien.
Okay.
Hualien. And on that train ride, it's a beautiful train ride. You
Taiwan's
see
amazing.
the ocean, and you can also see a whole bunch of stuff.
Shanghai is just an amazing hub. So you having your surfboard was.
Yeah, I guess not that weird, but for sure, other people, the locals of Shanghai, were giving me looks.
You going surfing in the Huangpu River, right in front of the Pearl Tower.
Yeah, man, that's actually been a dream to go to I think it's the Yangtze. Have you seen that film that Charlie made?
I haven't, no.
It's called like Chasing the Dragon or something. So there's these things called tidal bores, and they this is one of the biggest tidal bores in the world. And a tidal bore is basically when like the moons and the tides are correct, and then it flows usually down rivers or places where there aren't normally waves.
Okay.
And there's like a 10-foot wave that goes for like miles. Like I'm talking 20, like 25 miles. And Charlie filmed it. And I'll show it to you later. It's amazing.
Is this recent?
No, he did this like 8 years ago. But it happens every 6 months or so.
Really?
This like tidal bore thing.
Cool.
And this is the biggest one in the world, and you can surf it for miles.
So that's on your to-do list.
It's on my to-do list, but it's just not possible because like you have to, like the government just does not allow it. You know, this was like when he filmed it, it was an event. There was pros that were flown in. They were trying to promote surfing. Charlie has a crazy story. He actually flipped the boat. Like he almost drowned with his camera, and he had the iPhone 1 at the time, and they replaced it. This is how long ago? iPhone 1 Charlie had. Yeah, pretty crazy.
That's rad.
Yeah. But so China frustrations. I guess you out of all my friends tend to have the biggest waves with those. I tend to notice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that living in China? Like what do you think makes it so kind of like these frustrations?
Well, to start with the broad strokes, the longer you live in China and the more it's maturing as a country,
Yeah.
the frustrations sort of aren't there as much.
Hmm.
Because anyone that's been to China, within the past 10 years, they know things are changing really fast. And a lot of things that used to be sort of cringeworthy are sort of not on the daily periphery anymore. But frustration, I mean, it all comes down to you learning how to just cope with the country you're in and their norms and cultural beliefs or practices rather. But I mean, it's still there. For example, I was on the subway 7 or 8 days ago, and some guy just hawks a loogie right in the carriage, and I was just like, what the fuck, man?
That's
Like
a little.
I mean, but the bigger cities are becoming polished in a sense, or like Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, like the big
How many of them have you been to? The bigger cities?
I'd say like 3 out of the biggest 5.
Mm.
But they're polishing all them up. But for anyone who hasn't been here, 6 years ago when I first got here, the streets were mayhem. People were cutting each other off, running red lights, spitting, smoking in restaurants,
Yep,
all the things that shouldn't be doing, but it's just how it is here.
for sure.
But it does come in waves. But these days it rarely comes out. But I don't know, it's a tough one because trying to get used to someone else's culture and country can be frustrating. But for China, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
My take on it, I think it's definitely about adjusting to their world because at first you're kind of like, damn, this is just totally not the right way to do things. Like, it's clearly better this way. But once you remove yourself from that mindset, you're going to become a lot more wiser and you will learn things that you definitely did not think you would have expected to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I tend to want to just open my eyes and experience the situation more fully. But another reason why I wanted to talk to you is your perspective is interesting because you've come in spurts to Shanghai. Like you've been here for like a year at a time, and then you leave for a year at a time, and then you come back for a year at a time. And then, so what I think is interesting for you probably is you see so much like big changes just happen all at once. It just like happens like that. So yeah, what are some of the biggest things that have happened like as you just come back?
Well, yeah, you're right. Every time you come back, there's a major and radical change with how the government wants to control these big cities, Shanghai being most of my experience.
For sure.
And it definitely comes in major waves. And when I first got here, so a lot of people don't understand, like China has always had these rules in place.
Yeah.
But they've never been enforced.
Exactly.
But within the past 3 years, you notice that they're actually really putting their red fist down and saying, like you can't cut the tape anymore. This is how it's gonna
Yeah.
be. It's gonna be
Yeah.
enforced. But biggest changes, fuck. I mean, it's where do you even start? I mean, personally, my saddest change that I've seen is no more street food.
Yeah.
I guess that promotes better health and safety standards for the city itself. But
Yeah.
I miss sitting down at a little wooden table with a little wooden stool,
It was
drinking beers
just,
till the sunrise or
it was a
whatever.
vibe. It was so good.
Eating cheap food on the street, like literally pretty much in the middle of an intersection.
Exactly. I was talking to someone, I'm talking to the dude who owns Funkadeli, and he's been here since 2013. He actually had Funkadeli first
Should
What-
be Yongkong,
on
maybe.
Yongkong, yeah. So he was here since 2007, but Funkadeli started in 2013. Dude, Yongkong Lu was not my favorite, but it was a perfect place to bring guests or, like show a side of Shanghai.
Mhm.
Street beers,
Yeah.
just lined up bars.
For life.
And from what I heard, you could pay maybe 8 or 10K a month for a bar, like renting a space there.
Mhm.
You could clean up that much in a night, no problem.
Oh,
Ma-
easy.
Yeah. So I miss those days as well. And what I was talking to him about and what he made me realize is it definitely changed everything. There's like a clear division between 2016
Mhm.
when she became
Yeah,
like
definitely.
president. So like that's kind of undisputed, but it was kind of, I didn't really realize it. But now looking back, oh, that obviously makes sense.
Oh, it's super clear.
The three biggest things have to be like scooter control. They're cracking down hard on that. The street food, as you said, for sure is the
Mhm.
biggest thing. And then I guess those are the two biggest things.
Small businesses, if you haven't noticed, all the unlicensed shops, like
Oh.
for example, my biggest frustration with what's changed is all the little scooter and bike repair guys.
Oh,
Like I
really?
needed to add air to my tires on my way over here, but there
Mm.
used to be
Oh, like hundreds of them.
hundreds of them, and now
Now you don't see 'em
routing
that
routing the 3 or
often.
4 miles over here, 5 miles, whatever. I didn't find a single one, so I kind of rode here with half flat tires. I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck.
Yeah, the hustle has kind of been kind of discouraged. I
Well,
could
yeah,
say.
it's that, and as well, they're trying to control population as well. As shitty as it sounds, to push a lot of these migrant workers back home.
Do you think?
Yeah,
I think they
'cause
still
all-
want to promote migrant workers coming in.
In a sense, but at the same time, to polish a city, they want to push that migrant image
Mm.
and migrant influence, at least
Yeah.
to the outskirts of the city and not within the inner ring road. Because a lot of those businesses,
Oh.
they're illegal businesses. Those were illegally rented, no business
Right.
licenses, and they're trying to, as I said, not let people cross that red tape.
Yeah, I don't think they care so much about that. They certainly care about the food. For example, I mean, when Yongkong Lu was shut down, their plan was Found 158,
Lawai Pit,
Lao Wai
the
Pit.
whole.
You know what happened? What that place was before? It was also a Lao Wai Pit.
It was a shopping mall.
Was it?
Like years ago, and then it was empty for a long time. That's all I know.
To my myth has it that, or legend has it, that it got shut down because someone died, like in a very big event there. Like fell off the side or something. It was pretty terrible. So that's why it was deserted for a
Okay.
long time.
Mm.
And then they turned it into Found. I think Found is good, but an interesting thing so Funkadeli had the opportunity to go to Found, but they said no. And they were one of the first bars. Like the expat scene was Yongkong Lu, to my understanding.
Yeah.
And then it got dispersed all over the city, mostly to Found. And what I think Funkadeli did that was wise is they decided, like, we're not going to go there. And the first thing I said to him, like, I think that's smart because you actually are going to lose your brand identity by being at Found.
It all blends together. doesn't it?
Exactly. So 'cause no one's going to say I'm going to Cafe di Stargio, which is at Found. You just say I'm going to Found.
Yeah.
So you lose your brand identity.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And I like to just talk to random business owners around here because the F&B scene seems so easy to get into. What I thought about it the other day, like you can just jump in.
But there's so much competition.
He was saying like, yeah, there is competition, but he was saying there's definitely still a space for like a breakfast spot, brunch spot. Me and my girlfriend joke about like opening one because you try. I mean, I don't know about you, but me and Fulton, we go every weekend. We try and go to like a nice
You
breakfast
should,
place.
man. Coming from the East Coast, like I miss a solid diner experience.
Well, they are out there, but they're literally an hour wait. Have you been to like Rack and Boom Boom? Like Boom Boom is not so much of a wait,
Nah,
but
it's not a cafe. Even
it's not a good
I mean, a diner.
sit down experience. It's a great bagel, but it's not like a good sit down experience.
Right. Yeah. You're sitting on top of someone else's fucking
Pretty
sandwich.
much. It's so crowded in there, but the food is delicious.
Well, yeah. I mean, like sort of shadowed that beer company.
Oh, right. We could talk about that.
You could.
That's pretty an interesting situation you
Uh,
put yourself in, I guess.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just got here a couple weeks ago. I flew
Mm.
from Japan.
All
Back
right.
here.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start there. You got back from. We can go back to Japan. I kind of want to talk about that before we talk about
Yeah,
the
sure.
beer, because this is something I find interesting about you. Is like you. I look at you as a bit of a nomad, kind of just floating around to different jobs. Not in a negative sense of floating around. Like you've chosen that lifestyle. So
Well, yeah. I want to do as much as I can before I'm 30.
right, that makes sense to me. And I used to think the same way, but recently I've come to love a home. So
Yeah.
do you like I'm sure you would probably look at that as a downside. You don't have like a permanent home, or do you look at that as a downside?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because taking that job and realizing it wasn't for me, I pretty much immediately withdrew.
Mm.
I gave my resignation within a week because I didn't want to waste their time or my time.
I mean, I guess that's pretty professional in a sense
Oh
that you
yeah,
realize
I
your
sat the
mistake
boss
at
down
least.
immediately. Well, I sat down with the guy who recommended me for the job and said, I know you recommended me for the job. I don't think it's for me. And he said,
Mm.
sit down with the big boss. But not having a home, it's 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 starting to get to me in a sense where I'm starting to think about, you know, my future. I sat down the
Mm.
other day for an hour and just wrote down on a blank piece of paper, like, some random goals, no filter.
Right.
But like taking this job and then immediately withdrawing, it sort of made me think about what I do want for the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Mm.
Um, but Shanghai is always home, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I got my 10-year visa, so my visa doesn't expire till 2027.
Mm.
And it's a European
2027. Yeah.
a European asked me the other day, it's like, "Oh, when's your visa up?" I was like, "2027." They just snarled at me like, "Oh,
So Europeans don't get that.
no, not at all." I mean,
Or are they on like a
having
1 year
US
cycle or?
yeah, having a US passport is, I think, something a lot of people take for granted.
Mm.
And me traveling so much, as far and wide as I have, it's really something I try to remember frequently. It's like
Yeah.
US passport. It's not the strongest, but it's within the top 10, I think.
Yeah, I think it is for sure within the top 10.
But not having a home, it's okay for now, but by the time I'm 30, I really
Yeah, and what I mean by not even having a home, like you live with Bill, which I think is super interesting.
Mhm.
Like you get an experience, like you're saving money, but do you look at it as like, would you prefer to have a home? Like, okay, this is what I wanted to say. So I totally used to see your perspective of like, I'm gonna save money by like utilizing my friends. You're not taking advantage of everyone. I don't think you are.
No.
But you're utilizing your connections around the world
Resources,
and
yeah.
staying like with friends, which I think is great. But then I started to realize and like you're focusing on doing jobs like working for the winter in Hokkaido, right? So, but what if you focused on a job where like you could get that money and then spend that to be able to still do what you want to do by going to these other countries and like living in a hotel? Or like, do you look at it like that, or do you like the aspect of like staying with friends?
Staying with friends because for anyone who doesn't know, I've worked for a guy named Bill.
Mm.
He was a GE executive in the States, and he's lived in India,
Pull this a little closer to your face. Yeah.
South Korea, China. He traveled to Turkey and setting up factories in all these places. And he's got an engineering background, business, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm.
So living with him, of course, I'm saving a buck, but also he's my
He's a mentor, yeah.
for sure. I sat down with him this morning, talk an hour about investing,
Really?
setting up for the future. Yeah.
Oh, so you're starting to look into that right now.
Yeah, I always have been saving money, but how do you make your money make more money for you?
Sure.
That's investing 101.
Sure. I don't know enough, but I just have like a retirement fund, Roth IRA. I just throw money into that once a
Yeah.
month. Was that what he was telling you, or what?
No, I've already got one of those, but
Oh.
I can't actually legally add money to it because I have
Dude,
no.
I get
don't
so
have a
many
W-2.
so many mixed things because at one time, like I filed my taxes just recently, and last year when I filed, they said like take all of your money out of your Roth IRA. You're not legally allowed to be doing this.
Mhm.
This year when I filed, the accountant, I still didn't lie. I said I've been contributing, and they said that's okay. So there seems to be so many mixed things. I'm kind of just hoping for the best.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get your ducks in a row because fucking around with the IRS and income
Yeah.
is
For sure. I'd rather be on the safe side. So I'm trying to look into the resources, but they just don't make it easy.
yeah, pay a couple $100 and get some consulting.
I did. I hired this
Yeah.
place, Greenback Taxes. They
Mhm.
specialize in like expat finances, and
Yeah,
it's
it's good.
goddamn expensive.
You
Like,
got to take care of yourself because if you don't do it now,
yeah,
the U.S. government could slap your wrist 10,
for
10,
sure.
15 years from now.
The way I feel about it, like if you file, at least you tried. Like not filing is a big no-no. But if you file, like you tried.
Mhm.
If you made a mistake, okay, we'll deal with it in the future. Your mom's an accountant, or
Yeah, she does my taxes.
she does your
thankfully.
taxes.
Yeah.
So what would your outlook be on it? Like, do you think you have to be on the nose, or do you think there would be like leeway?
Like you said, if you make the effort, you definitely
Yeah.
have more leeway. If you don't make the effort,
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't-
way I
I don't
look
think I
at it.
filed for like 2 years.
Yeah, neither did I actually. And then you can do back taxes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as long as you do that, you're making your best
Right.
effort.
So luckily, my mom's been there to sort of guide me along and sort of help me filing as well as look out for what to do for
Mm,
like Roth IRA or whatever retirement accounts. But yeah, backtracking, living with Bill.
mm,
He's my mentor, good friend at this point. We hang out all the time. But to answer your original question of just traveling and being a nomad and just using the resources in France to sort of hop the pond,
mm.
every 6 months to a year. Uh, yeah, it's good. It's gotten me to sort of places easier. Like I wouldn't
Mm.
make the jump over here. Like I probably wouldn't have come back
If you didn't have the connection,
if
you
I
already
didn't have that
had.
extra bedroom to sort of settle into.
Yeah.
Because like I'd probably come for a visit, but I wouldn't stay for 2 months because that 10-year visa that I have to leave every 60 days.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 weeks left on it. I'm sort of trying to figure out.
Whether you go back or not, like to the States.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wanted to go home for June anyway.
Mm.
Go to Montreal with my parents, see my brother and sister because all 5 of my family members rarely get together. So there's an opportunity to do that. Plus our buddy Evan Litzios' wedding, plus a couple concerts I want to go to. So I got to go home in June anyway. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out over the next 3 weeks whether I sort of buckle down and study Chinese full time and work part time, or just say fuck it and go somewhere new. I was maybe even thinking Australia.
Dude, Australia is amazing.
Yeah.
I lived there for 6 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
loved
where
it.
where do you recommend? Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne,
Okay,
Perth.
I can break it down.
'Cause
Sydney is like the financial hub, big city.
a lot of people told me Melbourne is where it's
Melbourne
at.
is dope.
Yeah.
Melbourne is dope because it's more of a youth culture and like just the vibe is
Yeah.
more your style for
Mm.
sure. It gets a little colder down there. But they got beaches and stuff like that. I personally lived in the Gold Coast for 6 months, and I would not recommend living there, but because I was studying there. So I was doing uni life and it was amazing for that. It's basically like living in Miami. So that was pretty dope. Yeah. And I was living on Broad Beach. I surfed every day. I truly think that was the happiest I've ever been. Also looking back, it's unrealistic because you're studying. It's not like a
Right.
grown-up lifestyle, but it certainly is attainable in the sense that I want to get back to living by the ocean. That is a huge goal of mine, is to be able to do that. Because I woke up, I didn't want to drink because I wanted to wake up and surf. I would wake up at 5 most mornings, walk 5 minutes to the beach to this empty lineup of surf. Me and my buddy Will made a great friend out there, and we would surf almost every day before school. And I didn't want to drink. Like that was just so like
It's like me
now
in the winter, yeah.
yeah, and the weather there year round is good. Like it's hoodie season in the winter.
That's
So
nice.
so it's
That's
just
nice.
beautiful. Anyway, so Gold Coast, you got Brisbane about an hour up north. So that's I personally didn't love Brisbane, but I was only there for a weekend. I don't have the best judge of character,
Right.
but for sure you should go just like hop around for a while. I think Sydney is cool because it's got everything. It's the most established city in Australia.
Mm.
And dude, what's crazy about Australia is like the population of Australia is the same as Shanghai. Did you know that?
It's like 26, 27.
Yeah.
people.
It's about the same. It's about the same, 26 or 20, 27
The thing that
each
trips
city.
me out about Shanghai is it still doesn't even feel like there's that many people. The sprawl is that big versus like Hong Kong or New York City, where like the people per square meter is like
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's somewhat of a trick of statistics, I would say, because like you can like Shanghai, the square kilometers or whatever of the base is massive.
What's it like 45 square kilometers.
I don't
or
know. If you
something.
look at it on the map, it's like the size of a state
It's like its
in
own
America.
province.
Yeah. So it's kind of lying to say it's like the biggest city in the world because it depends on if you look at the inner circle, like that is what I would judge the size of the city when you compare it to a place like Hong Kong or Manhattan.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit of a cheat, but it for sure can get super crowded. If you want that feeling, go to People's Square Metro.
Oh,
and you'll feel it there, buddy.
Oh man, been there, done that.
Yeah.
I'll go to the end's length, to the end of the world to avoid taking the metro during rush hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Nuts to butts all the way.
Nuts to butts. Yeah, dude, I'm on the scooter as much as possible.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking at Australia as my next move. Who knows if it'll happen? Like I said, I've kind of given myself that cutoff of 30 to sort of really figure out some sort of rock hold as a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 is the big one. So yeah, we met up for beers the other night and we got a little deep on like soul searching. So what did you write down on your piece of paper? It was like what you want to do.
It all leads back to doing something in the outdoor industry. Because for anyone that doesn't know, I've been a ski bum for the past 4 winters in a row.
Right.
Which is great. It's what I like to do. It's kind of like you with your surfing.
Yeah, I wish I could do it more.
I'm
but
certainly not hell bent on going winter in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. So ideally, everything written down comes back to something in the outdoor industry. I was looking at like bigger brands like Osprey or Smith, or
yeah, it's cool. You got the connection with them kind of already through Joe, right?
Yeah,
or even Bill.
No, it's definitely more. I haven't talked to Joe in like 4 years. But anyways, maybe like some sort of travel tourism agency, like consulting people on adventure travel.
My cousin does that through getting people to study abroad, actually.
Yeah, and there's some element of education in there.
Of course, yeah.
Because I actually applied to the International Office of Education at Champlain for a job.
Kaylin.
Yeah,
Kaylin
exactly. I actually went to go see her in her office just to say hello.
Yeah, she's great. She seems pretty happy there.
Yeah, definitely. And before that, she was doing the travel agency, like the consulting for adventure travel as well. But yeah, just sort of poking around with that sort of element of career paths. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and on average, people in our generation will have between like 20 and 40 different industries they'll work in, or something crazy.
That's
like
mind-boggling. Like my dad
I don't think it's that much.
Has been in the same profession for 25 years.
Yeah, my mom's been in the same company 34 years.
That because their mindset was like, you're gonna work until you get your gold watch. So when did it change?
When we were born.
You think so?
We are
the next generation
with the global economic shifts and changes that it's seen.
Yeah.
Things are a lot more complicated in our generation. I think with technology, things do get a lot more complicated. Because
absolutely,
I've been researching or just reading up on like technology. It helps, but how much does it hurt as well?
The algorithm in which Facebook and Instagram works, apparently, they don't intentionally do it, but controversy and like conflicting ideas is what's going to increase engagement. If you post something that's like, oh, like we went to the park today and had coffee, it was beautiful, you're going to get a like. But if you're posting about something controversial, it's going to get people to post a ton of comments, and that's what gets people engaged. And the way these companies are built, their businesses, they want people to stay on the website, continue to be engaged. So unfortunately, like the people who made the algorithms, they're like, listen, we didn't design it to be something that keeps people in conflict mode, but the algorithms only care about like keeping up engagement. So the algorithms learn to just do that.
Right.
So that's a sad aspect of what we have to deal with.
Yeah. I actually showed up to China without a smartphone. I didn't get a smartphone until I was in China.
So we can talk about Chinese social media. This is something that I've personally been able to see the growth of is WeChat. WeChat has been the most phenomenal like piece of social media. And that's the thing. It's not even social media. It's just like the all-in-one app you can use.
Swiss Army knife.
It is exactly. I'm able to pay my phone bill. I'm able to pay my electricity bill. I'm able to buy stuff. I'm able to talk to my friends. I'm able to transfer money. I'm able to buy railway tickets, plane tickets. You can do so much with WeChat that the States and most other countries are just catching up to that.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested to see, like, because when you go back home and you got to pay with cash or you got to pull out your credit card, it makes you realize the convenience that those types of apps you
Yeah,
have here in China.
definitely. I mean, this is sort of a little bit off topic, but China's because WeChat was started in 2012, 2013, pretty much like as soon as I got here. It was like
Mm,
just starting to ramp up.
yeah,
But China is no longer a developing country. It's a leading economic world and technological power.
absolutely. I would
And
agree.
the West used to export technology and resources like information to here, but now it's reverse.
Yeah.
And China's no longer eating, it's feeding other countries now.
Yeah. I mean, what's going on with Huawei is extremely interesting. Are you familiar with that at all?
Can I have some more water?
Yeah, for sure. So hold on. Yeah. Are you familiar with what's going on with Huawei?
Does it have something to do with 5G and they're beating the states in terms of milestones and the next technology
Um,
like
Kind of, sort of. To my understanding, what's going on is like the U.S. government is the one that's leading the petition against um, Huawei technology. And so, like a lot of businesses, big industrial companies that need infrastructure of tech,
mm,
they'll buy it from Huawei because it's much cheaper.
yeah.
The concern is that there's back doors in Huawei's technology that allows the Chinese government to get in and steal trade secrets.
Well,
So, like,
whoa, news, no
yeah,
news.
no big news there. But like, what I find interesting is like, I'm sure all companies are able to do this. Like, if China's doing it, why would the U.S. not be doing it?
I don't know.
So yeah, these are things I don't know about, but maybe I'll read up on it next time. I'll have a little more to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just so the U.S. government is the only one lobbying it, and from what I read, like European countries, they are not listening. They're like, we're still going to do it. We're just going to take it. It's cheaper technology, and it works almost like as good, if not better. So yeah, it's tough time to make the judgment call.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always in the back of my head. It's like, what's China actually going to be like by like 2030 or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, some people say it's a bubble. Some people say it's here to stay.
Well, they've been saying that for years, but who knows when it's actually going to pop?
I don't know if it's about popping or not, but when you said it's it's not a developing country anymore, I would totally agree. But it is when you leave the first tier cities.
Yeah, but it's rapidly like these tier 2 and tier 3 cities are going to become first tier cities within 5-10 years, and that's pretty
Mm,
fast if you look at it.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is we're not there right now.
Oh,
Right?
correct. But
Yeah.
for example, me being here on and off for 6 years,
Mm,
I've witnessed the birth of the middle class expansion.
yeah.
Like it's insane how many people are now in the middle class within half a decade.
Mm, for sure. But then when you go to these like outline, like I don't know if this stat is still true, but
It's mostly on the east coast of China because
yeah.
anyone that knows or anyone that doesn't know about China, most of the population lies probably on the east coast and then like in the
Mm,
Midwest, but
yeah.
that's where most of the wealth is. Once you start going inland towards like the Tibetan Plateau, from here to Tibetan Plateau, there's obviously a bunch of cities. But yeah, like you're saying, it's pretty.
Well, you would actually know better than I am because you've traveled over there, right?
Yeah,
How was that trip?
I went down to Yunnan up through Sichuan, and I did
Mm,
like a 6 to 8 week trip. It was amazing.
yeah.
If you haven't been, if you ever have free time or you can do your work remotely,
Yeah.
just take your laptop and fly to Kunming and then work your way north. It's absolutely spectacular. It's one of my favorite trips I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. I gotta check it out. I mean, your photos were beautiful. I'd love to go out there. I'm not much of a hiker, but you were telling me
Oh,
doesn't
dude,
matter.
just go
You'll
to
love it.
Decathlon, buy a $60 pair of hiking boots, and just fucking go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm about to go on a 2 week trip after May holiday. I'm not going to go during May holiday, obviously, because it's going to be mayhem.
Wise move.
So I'll probably go on like the 5th until like the 15th, and then I'll
Mm.
have to take my visa trip.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
okay.
go
So
down.
that's the current plan.
Yeah, I'm probably going to fly down to Guilin.
I've been to Guilin. Guilin's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll ask you about Yangshuo a little probably after this. but-
That was the first time I truly saw people eating dogs.
Oh,
I saw them kill dogs in the street.
boys got to eat.
Boys got to eat. But they did not even bat an eye. They like, and I go back and forth because if you think about it, like if you have a farm, It's only a Western like ideology that like you can't eat a dog.
Yeah, it's certainly different. I don't support it, but at the same time, when you look at it,
I don't support it either, but then if you think
it's
about
like
like
you
you
kill a
should
chicken or a cow. It's
exactly,
almost the same
exactly.
concept.
Why are you differentiating like only because that's the way you've lived your whole life, which is a hard mindset to break out of.
Yeah, but when it all comes down to the beginning of this whole conversation is you have to sort of assimilate to someone else's
Exactly.
country and
Exactly. I
culture.
was never going to say anything, but it's something I observed and can tell like it was just brutal. Like I'm not going to go into details of how they did it, but it was startling
Well, yeah,
because I'm there on a shoot to film a commercial and we're just like we're using it like the Guilin Mountains as a backdrop
yeah.
and there's like families who live there and their life is farming. That's what I'm saying is like there's places like that where but it's amazing they also still have like 4G internet out there.
Well, yeah,
So it's like you're kind of in this strange time where you can live in like the past, but then you turn on the electricity and you got the future, like the present
yeah,
instantly.
definitely. It's interesting, to tie all these themes together. Technology in the countryside, like
Mhm.
it's becoming more integrated, and I don't know. It's just funny to see like going to these, yeah, like you said, like remote parts of China, but there's they still have all the modern conveniences
Yeah.
minus the infrastructure.
Minus the infrastructure. The
Um,
roads were narrow.
yeah, but I'll fly down to Guilin probably like next Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll work my way up through like Hunan. I want to
Mm.
cover 2 provinces and
Hunan would be cool. They got
Hunan
great,
food.
it's kind of spicy food there, right? La la la. Yeah. Do you remember when I first got here, we went to Crazy Lady? Do you remember that
Oh
spot?
my god, that was
Tell me
my
about Crazy Lady.
It was a sort of hole in the wall restaurant next to my house. It's back when smoking was allowed in restaurants.
Oh yeah, that
Uh,
changed.
Yeah, so the skate shop / office was right next to my house, and my house was right next to um, this restaurant. And after we'd finish work, we'd go to this hole in the wall restaurant, and there was a round table on the second floor. It was the only table up there, and it was right next to the mahjong rooms
Mm.
where they would gamble and smoke
Oh,
cigarettes and get wasted.
yep.
And there's this one waitress who is the crazy lady, hence the name. And she had like 3 teeth, and she would shout at the top of her lungs anytime we came in. And every time we'd go there, we'd get her pretty drunk. So we'd sit down for hours and just smash Chinese food, drink heaps of cheap beer, get this lady drunk, and
Mm.
the more we drank, the more she drank, and the longer we stayed. And I mean, I'd go hang out with the gambling guys and just smoke cigarettes and just sort of hang out at this flagship restaurant in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And since then, I think it's been changed like 3 times.
Yeah, that whole area has gone through.
You caught the tail end of that.
Exactly.
Did you met her, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
that was the first meal I ever had in Shanghai.
Yeah,
I showed up there with my bags. James, me, you. I remember it was like the cauliflower dish where they come.
Still one of my favorites.
Still
dude.
one of my favorites as well. And it's like something I don't have enough is going to these local restaurants where you can truly experience something different. I'm a little, but it's just not healthy at all.
Oh, yeah,
It's
dude.
so I'm really trying to focus on my diet
I've
quite
been
a bit
back
more.
6 weeks now. I've put on like 10 pounds. Dude.
Yeah, it's not what's good for your body, but so I don't understand how like if the locals eat it, why do they stay so thin? Do you think I think it's lifestyle as well to go along with it and maybe like their personal like genes, what their body type can handle it
I
differently.
think like living in a big city, you have to use your mind and body a lot on a daily basis. And I think I don't know, it's a really tough question. I've wondered the same thing. Well, I think locals don't drink as much beer as foreigners do. So like we see that adverse side of things.
Absolutely, because they get drunk quite easier. They actually don't have.
They drink liquor more.
They drink liquor, that's for sure. To my knowledge, they don't have the correct enzymes to metabolize beer.
Right, exactly.
That's why you get like what's called Asian glow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're healthier and they have a longer life expectancy because they're more active, especially in the cities.
That is probably my favorite thing about, not my favorite, but something I admire about people who live in Shanghai, especially the older generation is you'll see them riding bikes, 80-year-old women, 85-year-old men, whatever.
Hmm.
They don't look at themselves as they have to start sitting down and taking it easy. They live their lives and they don't stop. From what you see in America or other countries is they kind of like, oh, like I've gotten to a certain age, now I have to like change my lifestyle.
Yeah, sure. And I think retiring, there's a huge stigma behind it in the
Mm.
States, whereas here, I mean, people remain active. I mean, shit, got nothing to do? Go to Zhongshan Park and slap my ass on a tree. Just go
Yeah.
hump a tree for a couple
Yeah.
hours.
It's one of my favorite videos I made is like I was
The Fushing
the
Park.
Fushing Park edit. I woke up like, early 5 a.m. jet lag or something. And I just went there and I was just filming video and it turned into like a beautiful 1 minute edit with
Oh,
this
it's
guy playing the violin.
beautiful is an understatement. It's a masterpiece.
And I really
For
enjoyed
anyone
that
who
piece.
hasn't seen it, make sure you check that shit out.
Yeah, you can go. Maybe I'll repost it kind of soon.
Oh, you should.
I want to make more content like that.
You should, man. It's a gold mine.
Have I told? Oh, I've told you about like the IE dance party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's gonna be
if I'm
fun.
in town, like I said,
Right, you might not be
traveling.
here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be really fun. I hope a lot of people show up and we could just like dance around.
It should, man. I mean, hell, why not?
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Gonna be good. So China and skateboarding. That was a big reason why I came here.
Oh, that is the reason.
Well, you know what? That is the reason
That is
I came
the
here.
reason we're both here.
Yeah.
Obviously,
that-
things change over time, but
Things change over time. But that was a dream of mine that I got to check off the bucket list. And I think it was a perfect introduction to coming to live in China. Not skateboarding in general, but the job itself, which was, kind of like a dream job, working a skate shop. Have you ever, was that on your bucket list or was it something that you really thought about it
not
like that?
really, because any skateboarder sort of has their local skate shop growing up.
Mm.
But out of all my friends back home, I was the only one that didn't work there for some reason.
Oh, really?
I was the only one that never worked there.
Hmm.
But I'd still go hang out, shoot
Of course,
the shit,
yeah.
smoke weed in the back behind the dumpster and drink beers in the storage room, whatever.
Mm.
But it was never a dream of mine, but the opportunity came and I dropped everything and just did it.
Mm.
Because number one, seeing videos of skating in China, it's like, whoa, it's like a surfer's dream of just constant spots and waves.
Yeah,
And just
I mean-
like it's a concrete paradise here.
Yep.
But no, it was never part of my dream. But coming here to work at a startup, which I think everyone just getting out of school should go work at a startup. Obviously, if you have a bigger corporate opportunity, take it. But if you go work at a startup, you'll learn every facet of a business, which was that on top of skateboarding was the most interesting thing of running that skate shop
Yeah.
and sort of changing their business model from retail to education and sort of flipping it where you get kids into your program and then sell them the gear in the shop. That's sort of how it was explained to me before I got here, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, I think I've grown so much since that first job. Like when I first got here, I was kind of in the mindset of just like when I have a job, I follow what I'm supposed to do. I don't really have much input. I just like be a soldier in a sense. But recently, I've just became so much more involved in like truly giving my opinion. And if I think something can be better, I should say it and
Yeah,
make
sure.
that happen.
Mm.
So that's been a big growth for me. But I remember working there and it was awesome. We just had this skate park and we could go and chill and did some classes with the kids. I had enjoyed that so much. I really enjoyed working with kids just to see like progression and how happy they would get.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you
that's-
did too.
That's the reward of skateboarding.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you, at the same time, like when you take something you truly love that you normally use as like an outlet to escape whatever daily challenges or grievances you're going through, like skateboarding was always an escape. And after a while, taking something you love and trying to make money from it, it either helps or hurts. And in that point, it hurt because on my time off, I didn't even want to go skate,
Right.
But yeah, moving to China for skateboarding personally and professionally was a dream come true, and that's led to so many more opportunities. Like I wouldn't have gotten the Japan job if I hadn't come here, and this, that, and the other. But yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy to see how much skateboarding has changed in China. You used to be able to skate anywhere, anytime, with as many people as you wanted, and now, 6 years later, you get kicked out of every single spot within 20 minutes, maybe less.
Pretty sad that is the case now. It used to not be at all. And you could chill with the security guards and a crowd would form and that could be annoying, but it was also at least you got to skate.
Yeah, man, skating East Nanjing Road 4 or 5 years ago,
Oh.
there would be crowds of like hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got to travel a little far and wider outside
Yeah.
the city center to go, number one, find new spots, and number two, on the off chance where you won't get kicked out of said spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, skating in China is still fun. I just went to that new skate park
Yeah.
yesterday. We hopped the fence.
The
and
story behind that is pretty weird.
I don't know any details, but
It's a weird story.
apparently it's not finished and it's not insured, so they're not doing anything yet.
So I guess that makes it not so weird. But the problem is the language barrier that they just can't explain that or choose not to explain it.
Who knows? We just hopped the fence anyway and skated for 2
Yeah.
hours yesterday. It's fun.
It's a fun park. It's,
Oh,
I
super
mean,
fun.
it's just sad they don't have anything in downtown Shanghai like
Mhm.
that. Like Binjiang should be that.
I mean, the amount of kids. I'm surprised no one has been killed yet there.
Dude, I'm sure there's been some gnarly,
Oh man,
gnarly kid on kid collisions because, yeah, you go there and it's just, it is a playground of kids flying around on scooters.
Well, yeah, last time I was there trying to skate, there was like this old lady selling like $1 sleds, and kids were like
yeah.
literally sliding down the ramps on like these little plastic sheets.
Yeah, that's pretty standard now.
But yeah, skating is still fun in China. Skating in general, I mean, I still love it, but it's the older I get, the less important it is to me in a sense.
Yeah, I understand. It's like, but I think that for me, it's been a good thing because it used to be my only identity.
Right,
Skateboarding.
exactly. That's exactly what I mean to say. Like in
Yeah.
more detail, like I still love it, but there's other things I'm trying to do.
And I think that's a positive thing
Yeah.
to grow your identity, and because it can be limiting if you look at yourself as just a skateboarder.
But my friend group in Shanghai is still predominantly skateboarders.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And
'Cause
that's
that's the root of
that's-
our identity,
exactly.
which I wouldn't change for anything.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to like, let's say I moved to anywhere in Australia, go to the skate park right away, you make friends.
It is the best way to make friends. I
Mm.
think it's so. But on the other side, I think the Shanghai skate community is by far the most inclusive out of anywhere in the world I've been.
Hell yeah, you got friends from every corner of the world here.
Yeah.
It's great, and
In New
everyone's on
York-
the same playing field. New York City, it's
It's terrible.
a dog.
So cliquey.
It's not even fun.
No one
almost.
wants to be talking to you if you're not like in their clique or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it just boils down to just finding the people that you really vibe with and click with,
Yeah.
and just run with it. It's just funny how like it's taken so seriously, even though it's like just a piece of wood.
Yeah, but as like it's just a piece of wood, but it becomes your identity, so people will take that very seriously when you
Yeah,
look at
sure.
it through that lens.
Yeah, and hopefully Shanghai does get more skate parks. To touch upon the skate park thing, it's funny how like the government just wants to check a bunch of boxes and be like, oh, we built the biggest skate park in the world at the time that's
Oh, yeah.
literally crumbling, but they still see that as
Yeah.
like the holy grail, and they have the biggest skate park in Asia or whatever it is now. Meanwhile, it's like the ground is like skating on sandpaper. If you fall,
Torn up.
you're ripping all your layers of skin off to the bone almost.
Yeah, actually, I think it's Guangzhou's got the biggest now, so it's like they beat themselves.
Yeah, and like I understand that property value in Shanghai is skyrocketing, and it's always been that way. But it's you could see they're tearing down more buildings to build better properties, and like,
Yeah.
there's no fucking way they're putting a skate park within the inner ring road that's of substance. Just property value is way too high.
Yeah, the zone we're in right now is changed day and night since once I first got here. They've just torn down these beautiful like old lane houses and popping up these great buildings. I mean, I don't know, great as in tall is what I mean, not like great.
Yeah, the engineering as well as the speed of how fast they can put up buildings is impressive, but them also tearing down people's homes that they lived in for a century, just to put up some generic fucking building is pretty sad. But street skating, I would choose street skating over skate park almost any day. But if Shanghai was following the Olympic wave, that's a whole other topic. But it's surprising that they haven't. And like all the
I
other
know.
cities,
Well-
all the other cities are popping up skate parks. Left and right.
Exactly. There are other cities that have popped up skate parks, and it must be it's just such a low priority on the list for Shanghai.
Mhm.
When you look at the bigger picture, they got more important things to deal with
Oh,
than a
yeah,
skate park.
dude.
I'm not that narrow minded that like, oh, I need a skate park. Like I know there are way more important things that need to be confronted with this general population.
Yeah, it's a double-sided coin, but beggars can't be choosers,
Yeah.
and just take what you can get, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I just am such a tranny skater, like transition. I'm just bummed out on ledges recently. I
Yeah.
just don't get
I
it.
just got my back 50 and back 50. That's about it.
I think you got a beautiful back 50, Mr. Sawchak.
That's all I can do.
Well, that's all you need. You know who said something? It's Chris Roberts Chris Roberts from the Nine Club?
Yeah, of course, great podcast.
So in one episode, he said that like he hates how he has it's either a front nose grind or a back nose grind.
Always get that front nose.
It's
grind.
front nose grind, yeah.
Mm.
And he used to get bummed out that people would like be like, "Oh, yo, Chris, like let me see a front nose." And he's like, "I'm kind of off that." And he said he would get bummed that like that became his thing. And then when he had Andrew Reynolds on, Andrew embraced it with his frontside flip.
Yeah.
So then when it was kind of beautiful because like you could hear it in Chris's voice that he like fully understood and embraced it in that moment of the podcast.
The boss endorses it.
Yeah, the boss figured out a way to love his trick and what he's known for. And now maybe like Chris was able to do the same and can just like do that trick beautifully. And like that's an amazing feat to be able to get that. But I can understand at the same time, like you get bummed that you're known for one thing. You want to be known as a great skateboarder, not as, that guy who can do the front nose.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's got their all dog, same tricks kind of deal.
Yeah. Like Mr. Kleiber, I think, well, you and him, no comply game on point.
That's like my favorite part about skating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun one. But yeah, I was just saying, there's just no transition out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No training, no life.
No training, no life. I mean, S&P if you want to go for that mile hike, but
that's all right.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
All right, John. I think we crushed almost an hour.
Yeah.
Been an hour. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Peace. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsor, Astral. Thank you, Astral, for providing me the ability to access all my favorite sites here in China. A VPN is not only useful if you live in China. Astral VPN essentially encrypts your data, which makes it unreadable. With a VPN, you can beat location-based streaming restrictions. For example, if you're in America and you go on Netflix, you're only going to be able to see a certain amount of content. But if you use Astral, you can switch between countries and have access to so much other content. It's great. Also, you can torrent worry-free. Without a VPN, you're super vulnerable to your ISP, stopping you from using torrent sites. There are so many reasons to have a VPN. Go to shanghaiobserved.com/astral to learn more and sign up today. Okay, 谢谢，再见。Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats at soundcloud.com/estoric. ESTORIC. Okay, that's it for now. Peace.